Joe, we've had conversations about the culture, what it looked like, what it felt like, and the process of trying to establish it and rebuild it. Talk to me about what that process consists of.
Yeah, so I think you first and foremost have to have a clear vision of how you want things done. You have to have a clear vision of what you expect from everyone. And then you have to live it every day. You can't put signs on the wall. You can't just talk about it. You have to come in and live it every day. And that's really what culture is. And so what I didn't want to do is just get caught in status quo. Let's just stay with status quo and we won't take any risk and we'll all be safe. And that has never appealed to me. And so sometimes when you're trying to reset and reestablish the culture that you really want, you have to make tough decisions. And I made some tough decisions towards the end of the season, but I'm completely comfortable with that. I would have been less comfortable just staying with the status quo.
With your comfort level, going out and getting a coach like Jamahl Mosley. First, just tell us, there's a process that has to take place. You know, the interviewing process of bringing in different people and, you know, all these different things. So take us through the process of what it looked like in coming to Jamahl Mosley. And then the second part of the question, why Coach Mosley?
Yeah, so we made up a list of about 10 guys that we felt like we wanted to talk to. And of those 10 guys, there were going to be different levels in which we talked to maybe half the guys. We felt it was imperative to sit in person and talk with those particular guys. The other ones we did on Zoom, and then it may have turned into an in-person after that. So first of all, you establish, you know, who's your list of, in our case, 10 guys. And then secondly, engaging those guys and getting a feel for who they were, how they see the game. And so we go through that process. It's an exhausting process because you're talking for hours and hours with people, but it's necessary. You have to do it. The other thing I would say is this: is that what you're trying to find more than anything else is alignment. You have to be aligned. You cannot do this at this level and not be completely aligned. And so really, the process is that's what you're looking for. In all of these hours and hours of conversation, you're asking them about how you do things, how you run your practices, your shoot-arounds. Let's talk about if we find players. I mean, you just go through everything you go through, how you travel, because you're trying to see how much are you aligned with the person that you're sitting across from. I'll say this, is that you basically find alignment with almost everybody that you talk to. It's just a matter of how much alignment.
Right.
You may find alignment in a couple of things here with someone, but not over here. At the end of the day, we found more alignment with Jamahl than anyone else. Not to say that the other guys weren't good candidates or that we didn't find alignment with them. It was just he had the most alignment in all the different things we talked about. He had the most alignment, and that's ultimately why we chose him. Obviously, he's a really good coach. He's had some success down in Orlando, but that means nothing if you sit down with him and you aren't aligned. And so I would just say that more than anything else.
The big thing that all organizations are looking for is organizational chemistry from top to bottom.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When you look at the organizational chemistry and you look at the alignment that you had with Jamahl Mosley, how did those two kind of intertwine?
So you really walk through everything. That you have to. Like, if you don't walk through and talk about every aspect of organization, team, practice, travel, relations, you literally talk about everything. And that's what I was saying before. You're looking to see how much we're aligned. And so I'll give an example, but when we say organizational alignment, just how you do things every day.
Right.
Just how you go about your business every day, how we treat people, what we expect from people. Forget the court now. Forget basketball right now. Just a daily office, how you work together every day is massive. because you can't have a dysfunctional office life and think that it's not going to translate or have any impact on what's going on that court. So all of that has to be aligned too. So I don't want people to think you're just talking about jump shots and defense. No, it's every single thing in your organization.
And when you look at hiring a head coach, how important is, because I love what you just said, it's not just about X's and O's,
No.
right? The character, the integrity
Yeah.
of the person that you're bringing in. And when you look at Jamahl Mosley, how important was that piece to go along with the X's and O's and the defensive philosophies, so on and so forth?
It's too tough in this business to have people in those critical positions like that that don't get the human element of this. There's a human element of this sport and of this business that we're in that you cannot get around. Eventually it'll catch up with you if you don't understand the human element, how to treat people, how we do things. Like that's critical. And so Jamahl being such a high character guy, I friends of mine who's called and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Good coach, good person." And I said, that sounds really simple. Good coach, good person. But it's not. It's not. It's not as simple as people think it is, because every day you're interacting with people. Every day you're getting on the bus, you're walking into the hotel, you're coming into the office. That person is interacting with people every day. That head coach he basically becomes the face. And so if that's not a high character person, it just creates, I think it creates real internal issues when that head coach can't carry that the right way. And I think he's proven over the years that he is a super high character guy and knows how to treat people, and that's really important to me.
What kind of team can we anticipate Jamahl Mosley putting out on the floor for fans?
So in our hours and hours of talking, we talked a lot about defending, and the reason we talk about that, and we got in depth, and he and I got really deep into the conversation of, we're going to score points. We have talented guys here. We're going to put points up. But he and I both believe wholeheartedly, if you're trying to win and win at a high level, you better be able to defend as well. So I think what you're going to see is an emphasis on we have to defend first. We're going to score, but we have to defend first. And I think for me, that was really important. Can we build an identity of, yes, we can score, but that team will compete on defense as well. And I think that's what you're going to see from his teams.
Last question. I just talked to Jamahl Mosley for about 10 minutes or so, and I don't know how many times throughout the course of our conversation that he brought up the word accountability. As many conversations as we've had since you've been here, how many times you brought up the word accountability? Just how important it is, one, to bring in a coach that's going to hold the players accountable, but also to have players that are willing to be held accountable.
Yeah, that's super important. It's easy for a player to say, I want to be held accountable until they're held accountable. And then you'll find out real quickly if they mean that or not. So he and I have had those conversations, and we've had some humorous conversations about situations we've both been in where a player said they wanted to be held accountable, and then no, not that much. You know what I mean? So we've talked about that, and look, I think if you just look at the playoffs right now, these teams that are going deep right now, the best players are being held accountable, and the best players are stepping up and doing whatever it takes to win. That's what it looks like, and it has to be that way. If you're serious about winning, you have to hold not only a young player here and there, but you got to hold your star players accountable as well. And he's not. We've talked about that extensively. And I said to him, look, you've been a head coach for 5 years. You've been around this for 20 years. You and I both know that the day that you don't hold your best players accountable, you may lose the rest of the guys if you don't. And so we've had brutally honest conversations about what this looks like and what it takes to do this.
Awesome, brother. As always. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.